So now we're looking at socialism and basically just how to evaluate and explain the different strands and their views on the four main topics. So we're going to start off with human nature. So human nature in general is optimistic. People are willing to share. They want to be part of a collective. Human nature is influenced by the economic system, so it's malleable. There's fraternity, solidarity, and people are altruistic. So, can we just move to the side? So human nature. So, socialists, they mostly agree that humans are social, they are cooperative, and they are malleable. But they differ on the extent of the corruption from capitalism. And also the extent of collectivism. So if we begin with Marxists, so key thinkers being Karl Marx and Engels, Friedrich Engels, they agree that human nature is shaped by societal / economical circumstances. So, for example, under capitalism, people become alienated, selfish, and competitive. However, in a real class of society, how Marx believes, these traits would vanish and people will show their full potential of having cooperation and collectivism and working together for the same goal, fraternity. Democratic socialists like Beatrice Webb and possibly also Rosa Luxemburg. Anyway, they believe that it's cooperative but more cautious. But the difference being, like, democratic socialists believe people can be educated over time, especially through influence of state, like with education, rather than Marxists believing it's just what will happen once they get rid of the class divisions that capitalism causes. And yeah, that's pretty much it for them. Social Democrats, like Anthony Crossland, by the way, that map is really, really pretty. So yeah, they accept that capitalism may influence or does influence human nature, but they believe it can be managed through stuff like education and welfare and social reform. And they think that human nature is flexible, but there's no need whatsoever for a revolution. And third way, key thinkers Anthony Giddens and New Labour, Tony Blair. They believe more in individualism to an extent. Human nature thrives through individual responsibility and opportunity, but it must be balanced with social solidarity. Yeah. So now if we move on to society, where there's class conflict, collectivism, the person you become is determined by the society you live in. Class will have an impact on how you see inequality, equality of outcome versus opportunity. The perfect society has fraternity, cooperation, and solidarity, and the idea of redistribution of wealth. So if we go up. So Marxists, we already did the key thinkers, believe that society is shaped by class conflict. So, a capitalist society is inherently unequal, so it must be overthrown via revolution, seeming as a revolutionary socialist, to create a class of society based on common ownership, to get rid of this inequality. So society is mostly about inequality, a lot of it. Democratic socialists argue to restructure society through gradual reforms like democracy, aiming for equality of outcome and removal of class conflict through state intervention. Like benefits and really extensive welfare. Then for social democrats, there's a lot more equality of opportunity. Then equality of outcome. Anthony Crossan, he argued that class was no longer the defining feature of society, and that there's a lot more focus on social justice in a society. So, like equality of rights and all this. And then for third way, they believe that the old class divisions are quite outdated, and that instead of trying to eliminate inequality, Anthony Giddens more believed in an inclusive society that empowered individuals to succeed through education and training and the sort of free market ways of getting out of poverty and that stuff. For the economy, there should be state planning, argue for common ownership, removal and moderation of capitalism, redistribution of wealth. The economy will be stable, meet needs of all, and workers strive for a common good. So the economy is mostly on the extent of capitalism. So Marxists believe in complete abolition of capitalism, replacing it with common ownership, since he believed capitalism was inherently evil and had inequalities and the what's it called? The exploitation of proletariat, working class people. Democratic socialists support extensive nationalization at of mainly key industries and central planning to ensure fair distribution, because Dietrich Webb really believed as well that it was capitalism was inherently inefficient and just unjust in general. So, extensive nationalization, really strong state in this sense. Social Democrats, by the way, I love Mac more than she loves me. So yeah, Crossland they accepted capitalism. But argues it must be really heavily regulated to keep down the inefficiencies and unjustness, and had much more of a focus on taxation, welfare, and redistribution rather than ownership. That's also a big thing. Capitalism, the extent of that, but also the extent of ownership. And finally, third way, redistribution. Third way believed in more of a globalized capitalism, since that was a way to increase economic growth, but believed in a market economy with social purpose. So the tax revenues gained from from capitalism to be redistributed with public services and welfare. Yeah, and if we go finally to the state, which must be strong, the state has a say in the economy, power to the people and workers, disagreeing the amount of control needed to prevent inequality and dissolving state. Yeah, so Marxists argued capitalism should be abolished through revolution, and eventually the state will wither away once class distinctions are gone. Democratic socialists see the state as more of a neutral instrument that can be used to bring about socialism. So Webb, she argued that there should be a strong, centralized state to more be a guide for reform and planning and this sort of stuff. And to be owning key industries. And then Social Democrats, they believed in more of the state to reform / control / moderate capitalism. Mostly for welfare and public services and redistributing income. That was the main thing of the state. Then for the third way, that the state should, moderate capitalism, they should do it through education, investment, and also public-private partnerships. And the state should enable people, not control. It's a lot of equality of opportunity versus equality of outcome. Quality of outcome, everyone ends up the same. Equality of opportunity, everyone can have the same opportunity in life. And yeah, that's the main gist for socialism.